The final strategy is collaborative action planning. In this phase, what we're going to do is to really help patients boil down some of their hopes, some of their wishes, into very clear, very specific plans that are achievable, that are highly, highly specific, that are truly focused on behaviors, and where the implementable steps are apparent, so that when patients leave the office, they're very clear about what to do, and even excited about what to do. And in that case, we know they're much more likely to be successful.
Focusing on the patient's plan for action will only be useful after we have made sure that the patient is engaged and interested in better diabetes care.
Thinking about this just a little more, can you imagine anything that might happen that could bring this 2 up a little higher to a 3 or 4 or 5? What would have to happen to move that importance score of your own up a little higher so that you feel even more interested about regular walking and see it as more important?
I think if I had more support, family support.
If you had someone who was rooting for you, it would probably be a whole lot more likely that you'd be able to at least give some sort of regular walking a try.
Right. If I had somebody who says, "Come on, Paula, we're going to go walk,"
Yeah.
I would do it. You know, or I think I would do it.
For the engaged and interested patient, action planning can be a thoroughly satisfying and productive time for both patients and providers. It is designed to enhance the patient's clarity about what to do and provide the confidence that they can do it. It is, after all, confidence that is our strongest predictor of long-lasting behavior change.
There were 2 things I know you're going to do.
Take my medicine, for one. Find out about my
That A1C number.
A1C number, yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
And seeing for yourself whether or not they're working.
yes.
And that's what's going to keep all of us motivated to keep doing things when we see those benefits. How does
And that's what I want to see.
When instead we make the mistake of providing the patient with a self-management plan that comes from the provider rather than the patient, this is not likely to be successful, especially when the patient is not convinced that what is being recommended is important to their life and health.
I feel that as far as my energy performance and level, then it would decrease if I ate as much as they wanted me to eat during the run of a day.
Okay.
And the other thing too is it does take a lot of time to eat all of those meals in the run of a day. And usually, if you eat a pretty good meal in the run of a day, you have a tendency to probably want to just crash out.
Patients need to leave with a fully implementable, step-by-step plan for success. Adding more vegetables to dinner each night might be a good idea, but how exactly is this to occur? What kind of vegetables? Who will be buying and preparing the vegetables? Will all family members support this change? How exactly will this work out tomorrow night? A clear and reasonable plan that has been thought through in advance is much more likely to be enacted.
What would you think if we were going to start with one of them and ask either of them, Vern or your husband, to give this a try? To say, let's set up some regular kind of walk-in program where you don't have to stick with me, but we're going to go at the same time. We'll meet back at the car or meet at this bench. Which one would you start with?
My husband.
So if you were going to have that conversation with him, when might you have it?
Probably gonna have it tonight.
And you would say, here's the plan, I'd like you to go with me and you can go at your own pace, I'm not going to slow you down. When might you guys go?
Maybe Saturday.
Do you know where you'd go or when you'd go?
Well, the marina where I live.
What do you think the odds are he'll do it?
Well, he loves me, so I think, and he told me this morning, he says, do your best. He says, I know you can do it, and I want you around.
Okay.
So.
Make sure that you focus on no more than 1 or 2 self-care actions. There may be many behavior changes that you or the patient might want to have happen, but limit yourself to only 1 or 2.
And as we've talked about how this might work in your life, it becomes clear that rather than tackling something so huge as adding a meal every 4 hours, why not start simple and see if it matters and see if it's helpful. And so we've talked about this idea of starting where most people start, with a little breakfast every morning, just for a week, to see for yourself whether it's possible and whether you notice any positive benefits from doing that. And that sounds okay.
That sounds fine. Now, you mentioned the breakfast, so we got the breakfast. Now, what are you suggesting as far as the rest of the day? Because I still got quite a few hours left in the day.
Yeah,
to,
I'll be very clear. I would suggest doing absolutely nothing different.
This increases the likelihood that your patient will not become overwhelmed and will succeed with their plan for action. Not to worry, you can always add other self-management behaviors when you meet the next time.
If we make it too hard and too complicated, you've already told me what's going to happen. I'm going to feel full, uncomfortable, lethargic. So if something needs to change, let's do it in a way and a pace that makes sense.
Okay.
Let's just start with that one thing.
With the one thing.
And do nothing else. And then you can decide whether that's useful.
Okay.
And if it is, either we'll meet again or talk again sometime, or you'll talk to your healthcare provider, and you'll figure out what that next step might be.
Okay.
It might be to add something really small, cracker, fruit, something at some other point. But why worry about that yet? Let's start with something limited.
Okay.
Don't forget to plan for obstacles. Ask the patient about what difficulties might arise as they consider enacting their action plan, and then problem solve with them so as to minimize even further the danger that this plan might fail.
You're going to ask him that he needs to go with you, starting Saturday, for a nice walk. He doesn't have to stick with you, but he at least has to get started with you. And that you're going to shoot for doing that not only on Saturday, but maybe the following Thursday, and try that for a twice-a-week program for a while to see how well that might work for you.
Right.
Does all that sound practical to you?
It sounds practical.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You're worried about how he's going to respond when you talk to him?
No, I think he'll say okay, but I don't know if it'll happen. That's...
Oh, okay. So you're not sure he might find a reason to not go?
I'll say I don't feel like getting up, and he'll say, okay, babe.
Oh.
So
Well,
that's what I'm afraid of.
when you do have that conversation with him tonight, and if he agrees to do it, because it sounds like he would, he's just going to get easily discouraged by you being discouraged. Make a date. Make a time date. Let's agree we're going to do that on Saturday at a certain time. What time is that?
It would have to be in the morning when it's cooler, so probably around 9 or 10.
Okay, so which one?
10 o'clock.
Okay, so 10 o'clock. And you're going to have to arrange where he's going to, at 10 o'clock, going to tell you that, oh, it's 10 o'clock, it's time to go, and he'll go wait in the car for you.
Okay. Okay, I can tell him he has to do it.
Okay? We have to sort of set it up for success, because you're right, you're going to have good intentions now, but you can tell that because we haven't gotten you that counseling and the right treatment for your depression yet, it's understandable that you would be realistically not so sure this might work. But the idea that we could...
Finally, take a few moments to formally close the deal. In other words, summarize and feedback this discussion with the patient. Summarizing their reasons for wanting to take action, the step-by-step plan that has been developed, the obstacles that they imagine might arise, and their plan for overcoming those obstacles. Make sure that they are clear and comfortable with this plan and that they are committed to it.
So let me just summarize what we've talked about here. You've mentioned that one of the things that's concerning you is that it's been recommended to you that you eat it multiple times during the day, with the understanding that probably would help to even out your blood sugars. And you recognize for yourself that you tend to feel a little more tired at the end of the day, and it's been recognized that your mood and your personality seems to change a little bit, and that it might be useful to figure out some way to do this, at least to some degree. And as we've talked about how this might work in your life, it becomes clear that rather than tackling something so huge as adding a meal every 4 hours, why not start simple and see if it matters and see if it's helpful. And so we've talked about this idea of starting where most people start, with a little breakfast every morning, just for a week, to see for yourself whether it's possible and whether you notice any positive benefits from doing that. And that sounds okay.
That sounds fine.
Each of these steps can and should be done in a respectful, non-authoritarian manner where we make maximum use of the patient's thoughts and ideas to construct the plan. Here, the provider's expertise will come into play and will help the patient to shape and perfect their plan.
Make those first calls and get you and your husband out there, even to go once. We might be able to turn the tide and move things in another direction. Does that sound okay?
Okay.
We'll give that a try?
I'll give it a try.
Okay. Thank you. How does that sound to you?
It sounds wonderful. I mean, my heart just went up.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see what happens.
So we'll try it. Yeah.
All right, well, good luck.
Okay. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
It's important to acknowledge that what we're doing here is certainly not new. We've borrowed from the work of our colleagues in motivational interviewing and brief negotiation skills quite a bit, but tried to shape some of that to be especially useful for people with chronic medical illnesses. We've talked about engaging the patient, exploring importance, especially dealing with the ambivalence that so many people feel when it comes to making some positive health change. And finally, we focused on collaborative action planning, where we help patients to get very specific about implementable steps to take that are both realistic and personally meaningful for them. The important take-home messages are to remember that when it comes right down to it, almost none of our patients are unmotivated to want to live a long and healthy life. That's just not true. Instead, we can begin to see that what we're asking people to do, and in fact living with and trying to manage a chronic health condition, is work. And it can be really tough, and there are many obstacles our patients face. And that our goal is really to help our patients to understand and identify and overcome those obstacles. I know you're interested in doing the best possible job both for and with your patients. And toward that end, I hope what we've done here today in this program will be useful for you in your further work. Thanks for watching.
Also, for more information about managing chronic illness, please visit the California Healthcare Foundation website at www.chcf.org and search for self-management.